Directors meeting for March 20th, 2018. Thank you all for being here with us today at City Hall as we go about the public's business. Madam Clerk, if you would, please read the roll.
Director Hendricks, Director Richardson, Director Peck.
Here.
Director Hines, Director Wright.
Here.
Director Wyrick.
Here.
Director Campiris, Director Fortson.
Here.
Director Adcock, Vice Mayor Webb.
Here.
Mayor Shadola.
Here. Let me call on City Director Gene Fortson for our invocation, please. I'll get you on.
Thank you, Mayor. Will you join me in prayer? Our God, we are thankful for this day and for the wonderful season of the year. We are grateful for the opportunity to live in a free country and to participate in debating the future of free men, free citizens everywhere. We ask your wisdom and guidance tonight as we make decisions facing our city. Help us to make wise decisions. We also ask your protection and guidance for our first responders and all other city employees as they go about their duties. These things we ask in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. If you would please join and stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item of business is to, as we're prone to do, to recognize our Boy Scout troops. We have Troop 24 with us. Mr. Jackson Turner is here. Mr. Turner? Young Turner, nice to meet you. And we've got citizenship in the community that he's working on. Glad to have you with us as we go about the city's business. Thank you. We can now move on to our presentations. We have a couple of retirement recognitions to make. Let me call on City Manager Bruce Moore for that event. Thank you. Bruce?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. We have two long-term city employees retiring tonight that we're honoring. The first is Officer Michael Ted Atkins. Officer Atkins has about 33 years of service. His awards and honors include Officer of the Year, Life Saving Award. He's also Officer of the Month. His favorite memory working for the city is working in the Detective Division on the 11 p.m. to 7 o'clock watch with Sergeant Bruce Maxwell and retired Officer David Smith. Officer Atkins' plans for retirement include getting into politics. So at this point, let me ask Chief Buckner to come forward.
You knew it's me.
I know. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board, Mr. Carpenter, it was not my advice that he get into politics, no offense to you all. But this is a good man. There's one thing that I want to highlight about him in addition to his career with the police department. That is certainly noble. One of the questions that I'm commonly asked in this venue is about our residency and the number of officers that we have. This is a homegrown 12th Street corridor young man who has served his city. And I think that deserves to be highlighted because we don't have enough officers, obviously, that live in our city, and I'm aware of that, and we're certainly working on things to try to change that. But he's a homegrown guy that served his city. We greatly appreciate him. He's a very outspoken guy, one of our senior officers, has done a great job of working in our city, and he will certainly be missed in our city with the police department.
On behalf of the City of Little Rock, congratulations, Officer Atkins, on 33 years of service to your city. Thank you, sir. Congratulations. And you got a tough mom.
I do that. Thank you. I'll keep mine short and sweet and to the point because looks like you'll have a major agenda. I want to thank y'all for recognizing me. I've enjoyed working for the City of Little Rock Police Department. I started off when I was 19 years old at the Little Rock Police Department after I graduated from Little Rock Central High School. with Kenneth Richardson. We went to school together, played sports together, and enjoyed it.
You see where his politics have gotten him.
And that's my mom, yeah. I enjoyed it. The main thing I took to heart was working for the citizens of the Little Rock, because one thing, it not only kept my family safe, but kept my girls safe, and also kept you safe. It's one thing I took pride in, and the chief will tell you, I asked questions that would put him on the spot sometimes in our in-service school, but it's stuff that I had concerns about because of what I've seen throughout my career when I started off as 19. I'm 52 years old now and going to retire, and I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward for my next journey. And I thank you, and good luck to everyone to make the proper decisions, wherever your decisions are. Thank you.
Director Hendricks, you have a comment?
Chief, the comment that you just made about you really didn't know why policemen did not meet within the city, I'm sure you're aware, and the public is aware, that on 2 occasions I have brought that resolution, that ordinance to this board. So the answer is up here. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
And it
Next, we have Captain D. Arthur Jordan with the Little Rock Fire Department. Years of service with the city, 32 years. His favorite memory of working for the city, I was walking in the MLK parade and approached 2 elderly African-American ladies. As I got closer, I noticed tears in their eyes. They said, "I didn't think we'd live to see our boys as firefighters." To see the proudness on their faces was heartfelt, and I've given them both hugs, thanking them for their sacrifice on our journey. His plans for retirement include travel, travel, travel. Let me ask Chief Hubbard to come forward.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the Board of Directors, City Manager Bruce Moore. In my short stint as Fire Chief here in Little Rock, I've had the opportunity to speak, have one-on-one conversation with Captain Jordan, and he expressed to me that he was set to retire, and there wasn't no change in his mind, but he always appeared committed to the men and women of Little Rock Fire, and he was committed to this community for over 32 years. And to that, Captain Jordan, from the men and women of Little Rock Fire, we say thank you and enjoy your retirement.
I don't have a whole bunch to say. I appreciate it's been an honor and a privilege serving the city and the citizens of this community. I always tried to do everything we could, especially for the community. And as you know, I'm sure you all are aware that all the work we did in the community is for us giving back. And I was president of an organization that did a lot of that in this community. So that was one of the biggest things that I enjoy and I will miss. And I thank you all for this honor, and hope I have me a good second stage. Thank you all. All right.
Thank you, Captain. There's a few people who wish to make a comment. Director Hendricks.
It's to the captain coming. I got here early, and I kept looking throughout the audience, and I know he was smiling at me, and I sort of cut it off, but I'm so accustomed to seeing you in that uniform. So good luck and have a good time being retired.
All right, thank
We'll
you.
miss you.
Miss you all.
Above all.
Director Wright.
Thank you. Captain? Now, you know I had to say something.
How you doing?
Yeah. Thank you for your years of service, and thank you for being one of my constituents in Ward 6. And even though you're going to retire, I know I'm going to see you around the neighborhood.
Of course.
You're just that kind of guy.
Yes.
And I just want you to know how much I've appreciated over the years your friendship, your support, and the fact that you have dedicated yourself to the citizens of Little Rock.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Well, good luck to both of you. We wish you the best of success, wherever that takes you. Okay, we can move on to the agenda now. We have a request to defer ordinance number 15 until April 3rd, 2018. This has to do with the adopting standards on duct testing and other energy conservation standards for residential structures. There's a motion and a second to defer this till April 3rd. Is there any discussion? Director Adcock.
It's on number 19.
Okay, we can, all in favor of the deferral indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The action is deferred. We can now move on to the agenda items 1 through 8. That's on the consent agenda. I do have a card on item 8, so Madam Clerk.
Mayor, I would like to address item number 19.
Okay, let me recognize Director Adcock for point of personal privilege. Go ahead.
Yes, item number 19, which is a food truck on 8409 Gower Springs Road. The applicant was here. She became ill, and upon leaving, she asked Mr. Collins to please defer this item, and it could be deferred for 2 weeks. And I would like to...
Is that your request?
Yes, my request is to remove item 19 and defer it for 2 weeks.
All right, there's a motion to defer item 19 until, I believe that would be the same date, is it not, the April 3rd?
Yes.
April 3rd date? There's a motion and a second. I do have 5 cards of people who are here to speak against it, all of them to speak against the item.
That's why we wanted to bring it up in the beginning, so they wouldn't have to sit through the whole evening.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion to defer? Director Hendricks.
I did not hear what was said about the reason.
Director Adcock indicated that the applicant became ill and asked to have it deferred.
Makes a difference. I
And
agree.
so she's asking to expedite it now rather than wait, so that the people
Agreed.
who are here to speak on it don't have to sit through the rest of our meeting. Okay?
How do they feel about it?
Well, there's a motion to defer and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, thank you. The motion, item 19, is deferred, and thank you all for coming down. Apologize for that, but we'll see you on April 3rd, I suspect. Okay, we can now move on to the consent agenda, which is items 1 through 7. If the clerk would read those items, please.
A motion to approve the minutes of the December 19th, 2017 and January 2nd, 2018 Little Rock City Board of Director meetings. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with Risk Management Resources in an amount not to exceed $72,000 to provide third-party administration services for the city's self-funded workers' compensation program and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Musco Sports Lighting, LLC for the direct purchase of light structure systems and with Pilgrim Electric Service, Inc., in an amount not to exceed $671,092 for the installation of sports field lighting at certain city-owned sports fields to extend recreation into the night and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Game Time in the total amount of $123,682.29 for the construction of a toddler playground in Riverfront Park and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to approve an annual contract with Cranford Construction Company in the approximate amount of $130,000 for the purchase of asphaltic materials for the Public Works Department and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Vehicle Service Group in an amount not to exceed $66,744.21 for the purchase of a rotary life system for the Fleet Services Department and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Deere & Company in an amount not to exceed $74,294.56 for the purchase of 4 72-inch zero-turn mowers for the Parks and Recreation Department and for other purposes.
Okay, we've had the reading of the resolutions. Are there any questions about any of these resolutions? There's a motion and a second to adopt the resolutions. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, saying nay. The resolutions are adopted. Madam Clerk, if you would now please read resolution number 8.
A resolution to authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute documents to relinquish the interest of the city in a parking deck located at 7th and Scott Streets to Metro Center Improvement District Number 1 to accept the donation from Metro Center Improvement District Number 1 of a sculpture to remain within the city and to be placed initially on the grounds of the Arkansas Arts Center and for other purposes.
There's a motion and a second. Okay, we have two cards. We have one for and one against. Let me call on Mr. Raycop.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. I'm speaking tonight in opposition of yet another bad financial deal for the citizens of Little Rock being perpetrated by Mayor Stodola, City Director Bruce Moore with assistance from Director Compuris, all who have been working in secretive meetings and communications to undo plans made when Mayor Stodola was the city attorney. Back in 1984, the city purchased the land upon which a parking deck was constructed near 7th and Scott Streets. The Metro Center Improvement District was to pay the city rent for lease of the land upon which they built a parking deck, financed in part by issuance of bonds. According to David Mintz, the attorney for the Metro Center Improvement District, the parking deck and all assets of the district, including the knife edge sculpture, will be handed over to the city in 2025. For the mathematically challenged, that's in 7 years. To date, the Metro Center Improvement District has not paid a dime of rent. According to conservative estimates, they owe the city over $3 million in back rent. They are in default, and according to Ordinance 14974, which deals with the lease agreement between the city and the district, the city can and should immediately take possession of the parking deck for non-payment of rent. Instead of protecting the city's interest, city leadership has struck a backroom deal to rob the city of a valuable asset and wipe out a huge embarrassing debt of an organization that is affiliated with financial supporters of the mayor and board members. The city manager sent a memorandum to the board concerning this matter and stated there was no fiscal impact with this shady deal. That could not be further than the truth. The reason the establishment wants this to happen quickly is twofold. First, the mayor and his cohorts are in deep with Metro Center and Downtown Partnership, and they want to keep the Metro Center group from having to pay what they owe the city. They paint the exchange of a sculpture, the same one that will be handed over to the city in a few years anyway, for the land is a good deal. They're leaving out an important fact. The parking deck plays an important part in transforming the abandoned Donaghy building from an office building into a fancy apartment building. We know that from a newspaper report which states that the deck in question will be used by tenants of the building. The deck, although used by the Department of Human Services for overflow parking and some patrons of the Repertory Theater, was never a cash cow until now. Why does the Metro Center Group want this to happen now? Why does the city want to accommodate them and not wait until we get the deck and sculpture for free? It's because the Metro Center Group can sell the deck to the developer of the Donaghy building for a huge profit, and when the bonds are paid off, they can distribute money left over from the sale of the deck to area business owners in the old Metro Center area. The same owners that are chamber members and donors to the mayor and directors' campaigns for office. Do the right thing and do not vote for this resolution. Do the right thing for the city and its citizens. Be responsible financial stewards. Thank you.
Scott Shalhorn, let me recognize you. You're next, please. You're on item 11. Oh, excuse me. I apologize, Scott. Well, first of all, let me, since you've invoked my name on several of your comments, I hate to tell you you're mistaken on many of your positions. Number one, I did not become city attorney until March of 1985. I was not the city attorney back in 1984 when this bond issue was done. Number two is any discussions that have happened on this item have been done in the meetings of the Downtown Partnership and the Metro Center Improvement District meetings. Number three is that while there may be money that is owed to the city for the land and a lease arrangement for it, based on information we received from the city attorney, there's an appraisal that has been done on the Henry Moore sculpture of a minimum of $5 million. So if your number of $3 million is correct, and I'm not saying that it is, certainly the city comes out to the benefit of about $2 million in terms of that issue. And then lastly, the tax assessments that are paid by the Metro Center improvement owners, the owners of the property, and based on the statute, have the authority to sell those assets individually and to recoup the payments to themselves. In light of that, they have decided, and we have the understanding, that they have the interest of deeding back to the city of Little Rock, when those bonds are paid off in 2025, the deck back to the city of Little Rock. So we ultimately will become the owner of that. So, Mr. Rakop, I'm sorry that your facts are not accurate, but I want to make sure that the record is corrected and that the public who might be listening understand that this is actually a very, very good deal for the city of Little Rock. Director Hendricks, you're recognized.
He has to come back to the mic. Is he talking to you?
No, he's finished.
Oh.
Mr. Rakop, you're finished. Thank you. Is that not your signature, Mr. Snow? Oh, I can't see that far. Sorry. Well, that's all right. We'll all right. Have a seat, please.
Yeah, don't
I don't know what the document is. It's approving a lease agreement. It's approving a lease agreement.
Right. That's what I talked about, was a lease agreement that you signed in 1985.
Okay.
All right. Very well.
The thing that I wanted to ask, and maybe you have answered it, if what he was saying was the real truth and nothing but the truth. And
I think there are several misstatements that were made as it relates to the issue of the value and whether or not this is something that was done in secret. That's clearly not the case whatsoever.
Okay, and my other concern is the article that was in the Democrat Gazette that talked about why are we losing money with the garage. Well, I couldn't talk about it because I didn't know anything about it. So can you help or explain to the public about the parking deck? Tom, why are you frowning? What you got to say?
I was trying to figure out which garage you were talking about, Director
The
Hendricks.
number one down there. The one that's with the money and we've been using it and where the statues are going to be. Talk about the statues. You know what lot I'm talking about now?
Yeah,
okay.
I understand now. I mean...
So you didn't keep up with it, so don't comment?
No, I kept up with it the whole time. There was an effort by the city and Metro Plan to make the downtown Little Rock area more viable for merchants. So they blocked up Main Street and they bricked it like several cities did. They put up some sculptures. They had a pond at one part. The building that used to house Moses Melody Shop, which I remember only because that's where I bought my first Beatles album, became a long building. There was a hope that some 50,000 people...
That was not my question.
Well, yeah, it is, because that was why the deck was built, to be able to provide parking for people that would come downtown to shop. It didn't happen.
My concern is the cost. They said that we could maintain the lot. I don't know anything about it. It's just what I read in the paper. So that's what I was asking. Can you explain that? Can we keep that lot, ignore the sculpture and all that? That's what I'm asking you.
We can keep the land and not take the sculpture. That's y'all's option. That's what this vote is about.
Well, the lot is a part of that, the parking lot.
The parking lot is, but
the public may not know, but I know.
The parking lot does not belong to the city.
Okay.
The city owns the land under the parking lot.
Okay. The land under the parking lot.
Deck, yeah, under the parking deck.
Oh, I'm finished.
Director Campiris, you're recognized, please.
Well, it is hard to think that this is not a win-win-win for everybody. First of all, if the bondholders, which is the group that's represented, went to the Metro Center Improvement District and said, sell our assets, they could sell the Henry Moore sculpture to someone in New York City and it's gone. Tomorrow. Gone. The biggest issue that the issue that no one recognizes is that there is a real legal issue about whether they owe us 20 or 30 years worth of rent or if it's capped at 5 years. And it would be a huge legal fight to decide that. the people that are represented by that group have said we have 5 or 6 more years on this bond issue to resolve this issue, and part of the resolution has been, as Scott can tell us, to lower the rate that they're paying. That in order to do that and not be bothered, they will pay the rate till the bonds are paid off. The bonds are paid off, it turns out, on a building in the River Market that is the only reason the district still is in existence. At the end of the time when it goes out, the city will own the land, they'll own the deck, they'll own the Henry Moore, and the people will not have any encumbrance and there won't be a lawsuit. So we get a deck, we get the land, and we get the Henry Moore, and what they get is they don't have to fight about this for the next 6 or 7 years, and they have a lower rate. So if that's not the best deal that ever happened, I don't know what is. And we ought to be thanking the people that own those bonds, that have been paying on those bonds, and not sitting up here saying that they're getting this great deal and then someone's getting a bath in this deal. Because the only people, I mean, this is one of those deals where everybody wins. They want out of this thing. We're letting them out. We're not going to have a big lawsuit on who owes what to whom over a long period of time. They've directly directed the Henry Moore to the Art Center so it can be the centerpiece of something in your district that'll look great. And it's a win for everybody. So I call the question. Let's vote on this and move on.
Well, the question's been called. Is there a second? I do have Vice Mayor Webb that wished to speak on it. Is there a second? All in favor indicate by saying aye on calling the question.
Aye.
Opposed saying nay. All right, the question's... There's a roll call request, Madam Clerk, on calling the question.
Director Adcock? Vice Mayor Webb?
No.
Director Hendricks? Director Richardson?
No.
Director Peck?
No.
Director Hines? Director Wright?
No.
Director Wyrick?
No.
Director Campiris?
Yes.
Okay.
Director Fortson?
By a vote of 3 to 5, the motion to call the question has failed. Let me go ahead and call on Director Campiris. Are you finished?
I'm through.
Vice Mayor Webb, you're next, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I just have a question, and I do appreciate that explanation because from the various things we've read and heard, it didn't seem clear to me that we get the deck, we get the land, and we get the sculpture. So that does seem really good. But I do have one more question. Okay. We were at several of us were at a meeting the other day, and somebody raised the point, I think they were from Housing Arkansas, that they were supposed to have gotten money had rent been collected. And so they were suffering because we never collected this money. Can somebody explain that?
The city of Little Rock made a commitment in one of its bond issues to pay certain monies out of its CDBG funds for the Nant Hill Community Center, which I think was tied into that particular thing. When the bond issue was done a couple of years ago that took care of that, that issue was addressed and it had to be worked out both between the city and HUD, and it was done by bond counsel. The question was called, but it failed, so the discussion's allowed. The vote on the motion to call the question failed, so discussion can continue. Right.
So I'm not clear. So what there was money then for the low-income housing?
The city fulfilled all of its obligations towards the housing authority. Yes, ma'am. I can't sit here right now and tell you where they did it, which account it came out of, or anything of that nature, but that was done.
Director Hendricks, you have another comment? Okay,
About the motion?
that concludes the discussion on the resolution. Is there a motion to accept the resolution? I think we've had that, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
And a second. All in favor of the passage of the resolution indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Resolution is passed. All right, we can now move on to the grouped items 9 through 17. And we have people who wish to speak on 11 and 14. 11 and 14. So if you'll hold those two, Madam Clerk, and let me ask for first reading of the ordinances.
An ordinance to reclassify property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned commercial district titled The Shops at Chenal, long form PCD, located on the southeast corner of Arkansas Systems Drive and Chenal Parkway, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned commercial district titled Plantation Services, short form PDC, located at 18305 Lawson Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned commercial district titled Brown, short form PDC, located at 9203 Laurel Springs Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to amend Little Rock, Arkansas Rev Code 2-242A and B, 1988, to increase the amount required before formal competitive bidding processes are required, to declare an emergency, and for other purposes. An ordinance to declare it impracticable and unfeasible to bid to award a maintenance agreement to Motorola Solutions, Inc. in the amount of $551,774.16, which provides maintenance for the city's 800 MHz radio system infrastructure, portable and mobile radios, to repeal ordinance number 20,158, to repeal resolution number 14,650, to declare an emergency, and for other purposes.
It's the first reading of the ordinance. Is there a motion to suspend the rules? There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place these ordinances on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to reclassify property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned commercial district titled The Shops at Chenal, long form PCD, located on the southeast corner of Arkansas Systems Drive and Chenal Parkway, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned commercial district titled Plantation Services, short form PDC, located at 18305 Lawson Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned commercial district titled Brown, short form PDC, located at 9203 Laurel Springs Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to amend Little Rock, Arkansas Rev Code 2-242A and B, 1988, to increase the amount required before formal competitive bidding processes are required, to declare an emergency, and for other purposes. An ordinance to declare it impractical and unfeasible to bid to award a maintenance agreement to Motorola Solutions, Inc. in the amount of $551,774.16, which provides maintenance for the city's 800 MHz radio system infrastructure, portable and mobile radios, to repeal ordinance number 20,158, to repeal resolution number 14,650, to declare an emergency, and for other purposes.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place these ordinances on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to reclassify property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned commercial district titled The Shops at Chenal Long Form PCD, located on the southeast corner of Arkansas Systems Drive and Chenal Parkway, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned commercial district titled Plantation Services, short form PDC, located at 18305 Lawson Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned commercial district titled Brown Short Form PDC, located at 9203 Hilaro Springs Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to amend Little Rock, Arkansas Rev Code 2-242 A and B 1988 to increase the amount required before formal competitive bidding processes are required to declare an emergency and for other purposes. An ordinance to declare it impractical and unfeasible to bid an award maintenance agreement to Motorola Solutions, Inc. in the amount of $551,774.16, which provides maintenance for the city's 800 MHD radio system infrastructure, portable and mobile radios, to repeal ordinance number 20,158, to repeal resolution number 14,650, to declare an emergency and for other purposes.
Okay, we've had the three readings of the ordinance. Are there any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Or on number 16, what are we increasing that competitive bid to before it's required?
50,000.
50, okay, thank you.
Okay, if there are no other questions, all in favor of the passage of the ordinances indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The ordinances have passed. And on the emergency clause on ordinance number 16, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That emergency clause is also passed. And on the emergency clause on item 17, all in favor of the passage of that emergency clause indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That emergency clause has likewise passed. Okay, we can now move on to first reading of ordinance number 11, please.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned office district titled the United Methodist Foundation of Arkansas, revised short form PDO, located at 5300 Evergreen Drive, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules and place this on second reading?
So move.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned office district titled the United Methodist Foundation of Arkansas, revised short form PDO, located at 5300 Evergreen Drive, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes.
Move to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned office district titled the United Methodist Foundation of Arkansas, revised short form PDO, located at 5300 Evergreen Drive, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes.
Okay, I have one card that wishes to speak in favor of this item. Mr. Shalhorn, do you wish to come forward? Thank you.
Good evening. I submitted a card just in case someone stepped up and said was in opposition of the matter. So unless there are questions from the board, I will step back and let matters proceed.
Thank you. Okay, we've had three readings of the ordinance. All in favor of the passage of the ordinance indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The ordinance is passed. We can now move on to item 14, and let me ask for first reading of item 14.
An ordinance to condemn certain structures in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas as a structural fire and health hazards, to provide for summary abatement procedures, to direct city staff to take such action as is necessary to raise and remove said structures, to declare an emergency, and for other purposes.
Move we suspend the rules and place on second reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to condemn certain structures in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas as structural fire and health hazards, to provide for summary abatement procedures, to direct city staff to take such action as is necessary to raise and remove said structures, to declare an emergency, and for other purposes.
Move suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to condemn certain structures in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas as structural fire and health hazards, to provide for summary abatement procedures, to direct city staff to take such action as is necessary to raise and remove said structures, to declare an emergency, and for other purposes.
I have a question. All the lights are on.
All right, we've had the three readings of the ordinance. Director Hendricks, did you wish to comment?
Ward 1. One of the addresses has 3, I think, something, but they all are Ward 1. But I'm curious to know who asked that this be separated from the regular agenda. I know I didn't.
We have cards that wish to speak for it, so that's why.
No, the cards do not separate it out from the total agenda.
Yes, ma'am, they do.
What?
When we have cards that wish to speak on someone, we do not read them grouped.
Well, I've been here 11 years.
Well,
okay, so
sorry,
but
that's been our policy for the 11 years you've been here.
Okay, so that was your decision.
I'm
Is
sorry,
that what
Director
you're saying?
Hendricks, when we have cards,
I know that you're not telling me anything that I don't know, but normally when something is deferred or pulled up separate, the board member usually asks. And I'm asking you, who suggested that? I'm not against that.
no
But
board
you're gonna
member
recognize
asked to
that
have
I'm
it
in
separated.
Ward 1.
The procedure that this chair
I
and
know
other
who did
chairs
it.
have
Go on
used.
with the
Let me
program.
finish, please, if you don't mind. The procedure this chair has used is that
One
when you
month
have
and one
several
goes
cards that wish to speak either for or against a matter that was otherwise going to be grouped, we pull the ordinance to read it separately, which is what we've done.
No, I disagree. Okay, so
Okay.
go on with the program, because I've talked to the person that will be coming to the mic ever since early this morning. Okay? Go ahead.
Director Richardson, you're recognized, please.
Yes, Mayor. At a press event, you and I spoke about one of these items, I think the old gas station on 12th Street. I know, Bruce, I made reference last week about several attempts to secure brownfield assessment and cleanup funding in partnership with a couple of nonprofits to help address the underemployment in that area. I don't think I got quite a satisfactory answer to tell me what happened with that grant. We're utilizing the city's grant writer and nonprofit grant writer. And what's certainly unfortunate to me, Mayor, is all these properties are located in Ward 1. And just recently, Sunday night to be exact, a young lady and a young man were murdered in Ward 1, 121, 122. And just last night, a young woman, 25 years old, was carjacked by a couple of 14 and 15-year-olds. And one of the things that we know, that when you have a high concentration of underemployment, that equates to an increase in crime, as well as a certain percentage increase in vacant, abandoned buildings. You can equate that to a certain increase or percentage in crime or criminal activity in that area. And to me, once again, it still gets to be real disturbing that we're equating tearing down buildings with improving neighborhoods, particularly buildings that we don't decide to tear them down until 4 or 5 years after we declare them vacant and unsafe. To me, that's an idiotic approach to us addressing community building, which is one of the things we recognize, that both gangs and crime is strongest and where a sense of community is weakest. So somebody please help me. Mayor, you and I talked about the one on 12th Street on Thursday actually. So can you give me an update, Bruce, or someone about our progress or lack thereof with respect to the brownfield assessment and cleanup grants, that we're going to use those grants to employ people in those neighborhoods to help clean this site up and improve this site so it could be available for some sort of business.
Dr. Richardson, I was aware that there had been an attempt to apply for some brownfields dollars. The city didn't own the building, the property, so I think we were just more in an assisting role. And I can let Mr. Givens come forward, and if you want to talk about the history of this building and the conversations and dialogue we've had, if that's your pleasure.
That's not necessary. I mean, we didn't own the building. I know we've been trying this for well over 10 years. And have we approached, I guess this is one question you can ask, have we approached the owner with respect to any kind of...
Yeah, if Mr. Givens could come forward, he'll be able to give a summary of our dialogue with the owners.
Director Richardson, Mayor and Board of Directors. This particular building, we started back in 2011 dealing with this building. And at that time, the owner come in and purchased a building permit to renovate the building to put in a convenience store. Well, they never did complete the project, just stopped. So we sent additional notices. We sent 3 additional notices to them about this building. Well, each time they'd come in, we'd talk to them about the structure, and they said, well, we're going to finish the building. Well, that never did happen. So we just got to the point where that's, it's 2011 we started. Here we are, 7 years later, and we're still in the same situation with it.
Well, thank you. I asked that question because that was part of our 12th Street efforts, and I think we adopted the 12th Street revitalization project in 2009. And I think one of the big pieces of that was looking at that as a major institutional anchor. And I don't remember what kind of building they were proposing, but I know whatever it was, it's going to require some brownfield assessment and cleanup dollars that were available at the state level or the county level, even, Mayor. So that kind of puts it in perspective for me right now.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Chuck?
Yes, sir.
Is it a concrete block building?
Yes, sir, it is.
I mean, it looks like it's pretty solid in that regard. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, sir, it is. And they did put a new roof on this building at the time and did just some improvements on the inside. But as you can tell, it's just sat there vacant. I mean,
well, we have lots of buildings, unfortunately, that have sat vacant. I mean, I could show you a couple that if we were taking that approach,
yes, sir.
We got some buildings on Main Street still that are waiting to be renovated,
yes,
but have been vacant for quite a while. I guess my question is do we have code violations on it? Have they been in court?
No, sir, they have not been in court. Because our normal procedure is to send an unsafe notice to them, give them 15 days to act on the structure. And if not, we will move forward with the recommendation for condemnation. And we did that on, like I said, 3 different occasions with this building. And we got promises that the building would be finished, but it just never got to that point.
Are there code violations that exist to take it into court to try and get the owner to either do something, or if we get some sanctions on it, we could go in and do a foreclosure action on our.
We certainly could cite them for unsafe, along with the property maintenance code not being maintained.
Don't we do that on others?
Well, with the commercial, it's a little different with the housing, where they do cite people. Most of the time, what we do, we send notices to them, and then we bring them to the board for official condemnation. Then we move forward with either demolition.
Okay. All right.
Would staff be supportive of, Bruce or Chuck, would staff be supportive of such a recommendation?
I've got a bunch of cards that want to speak on these items. So, I mean, before we ask those questions, can we try and hear from our citizens? Director Wright, let me call on the other directors, and then let me call on this. I think there are some citizens that probably wish to speak on this.
Okay. Well, I will, of course, defer to Director Hendricks. This is her ward, and Director Richardson because of the 12th Street corridor. But with this press conference that you all have just had, talking about trying to breathe new energy into that corridor, wouldn't it seem logical to leave this building alone? It doesn't look that bad. I mean, I've seen a whole bunch of more stuff that need to be snatched down, and like this house on Bryant Street that I can't get tore down. But I mean, to me, if there's a structure there, it's a block building, they've got a new roof, I don't see why this couldn't stay until you all see what you can get done with this new energy that you're trying to breathe into 12th Street. Now, of course, as I said, I will defer to Director Hendricks and Mr. Richardson, but this doesn't make a lot of sense to me. We don't have a lot of money to be taking down commercial buildings. And this is one that's, I've never been in it. I've been bad by it, but I have not been in it. But we got stuff look a whole lot worse than this. That's just my 2 cents worth.
Director Hendricks, you're recognized, please.
She was a little ahead of me. That's what I would suggest, is that this item be withdrawn because it is in Ward 1. I started to hit Ken for comment. This is not his ward. And they know I will jump all over any of you when you start stepping over here. Okay? So I'm asking that this be withdrawn.
Well, I've got some cards, so before we take that as a motion, let me ask these citizens to speak, please. Mr. Muse, let me call on you first, please.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board. Appreciate you giving me this opportunity, Mr. Moore, to speak. I am against this structure being on the demolition list. That's very near Forest Hills by 1 block. I serve on the 12th Street Jumpstart Committee, steering committee, and we have had lengthy discussions about utilizing that building for other purposes, one of which is a restaurant. And I would appreciate very much if you would consider taking this off for a period of time of maybe 9 months until we can get further into detail with the owner. I understand that Mr. Giles is representing the owner, the new owner, and he wishes to renovate the building into a use that would be good for the neighborhood. So that's why I'm here, is to ask you to remove it and give us an extension of at least 9 months to make that happen.
Thank you, Mr. Muse. Let me call Mr. Giles, please.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. I'm Steve Giles, and I'm an attorney, and I've been given authorization of agency, and I provided that to Jamie Collins. So, and I just got into this over the weekend, actually. But spent quite a bit of time in the building, 3724 West 12th Street today with the owner. His name is Mohammed Yafai of Yafai Investments. He's here to speak. My understanding that his company had some financial issues back in 2012 when they started on this project. They have since worked those out. He has financing. He's committed to do the repairs and the remediation as necessary to get this into habitable condition. And the first thing I told him today, I said, get that outside cleaned up, because it's right across the street from the Neighborhood Resource Center. And they said, okay, yes, we'll do that. We'll do that. We'll get it secured, keep people out. We went inside the building today, and people have been opening those sliding doors and throwing trash and debris, and it was pretty bad. But actually, structurally, it's in very good shape. There's steel beams, concrete floors, concrete block walls, I mean, it's a prime candidate for rehabilitation. It just takes a commitment to do it. And my client has told me he's ready, willing, and able to go forward with this. And they have other properties that they had been working on, but they kind of focus now on this piece of property because they know the importance of it. I mean, we heard you tonight about how important the renovation of 12th Street in this district is, and we don't want any more vacant lots. We need structures that are income producing and habitable. So if you could, and I appreciate Ron supporting this, and we'll be working with city staff. I've talked to Jamie Collins, talked to Chuck Givens, and I think everybody in this, and surely you all don't want another vacant structure torn down. Certainly, this is an opportunity if you could just give us time. And Doris is right, it's not unsafe, because the first thing they're going to do is clean the outside of the property and secure the building so there's no unlawful entry. And then they'll just deal with it at a time. And they'll make reports to Mr. Givens about progress so that there's visible, real progress going forward. I mean, that's all that can happen to this building, really.
All right, thank you, Mr. Giles.
Yeah.
Are there questions for Mr. Giles? Ms. Hendricks?
Talk to me out in the hall.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll let them know that.
Yes, I talked with Doris. Actually, I just really got engaged yesterday on this, so, it's of great interest to me. I talked to Irma in the hallway because I know it's in Ward 1.
And not call me no Irma.
I will talk to you all individually. You know, I enjoy doing that, so I just hadn't had time to do it.
Director Adcock, you're recognized.
Mr. Giles, how many square feet is this building?
You know, Director Adcock, I'm not even sure. It's there's a big open space inside that used to be, it was a garage. And so it is high ceilings. Do you know, Mo? 2,500 square feet.
I was wondering if it's big enough for a grocery store. Thank you.
I
Maybe
think
it could be added on
that's
to
in the
it.
plan.
There's actually two
This
buildings
is
there, aren't there?
Pardon me?
Aren't there actually two buildings?
Well, the garage, and Mo, correct me on this, the garage that's right behind it, is that part of your building too? Okay, and that's being occupied by somebody right now? Okay, mechanic shop. And this is in the UU district, the urban use district, which gives a lot of flexibility and innovation to do things that are, allowed in UU. So,
Okay. Director Richardson, you're recognized, please.
Yes, Mayor. Steve, with respect to it being a UU, and I'm aware that the back part is an auto shop, have you guys looked at, or are we aware or work with staff at all, looked at the need for some kind of brownfield cleanup in that area? Is your client aware of that? Does he know? Because that's going to be a tremendous cost, and without any kind of financial aid, either via grant or a foundation, this is going to be a humongous cost to get this building habitable for a grocery store or a convenience store or a pizzeria. But it's a lot of work that goes into that. And we do know, I mean, it's, the part that I mentioned 3 minutes earlier, that homicide Sunday night occurred about 7 blocks away from this location. Something needs to be done with this, and we'll be willing to work with you, we meaning the city staff and the mayor, of course. The mayor and I talked about this, and several board members. You hear, Steve, more than willing to help invest in this. But this is the kind of investment that we need to have in certain parts of our community that, unfortunately, for some reason, have not received the due notice or due attention or due resources in this area. I want them to know that this is going to be a tremendous amount of resources going to take to bring this up to a part where it can be a business that you can operate, that can be safe and secure, and we're dealing with all the hazardous stuff. So I'll speak with you shortly after Steve finishes his presentation.
thank you, Director Richardson, and that's another one of the first things I mentioned to him when I saw the property and met with him there, that this is going to take a big effort, and they're willing to undertake it, and all we're asking for is time to really do some kind of productive plan and real progress to go forward. And I can't promise you that it's going to get done, but I really appreciate the board having some understanding about this, because it'll be a good project. It's a good building.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Director Hendricks, you're recognized, please.
I don't know if I need to ask this question, but listen at Mr. Richardson. He's saying what it's going to cost, but at the same time, he wants to defer this. So what do you say? And I noticed your expression too. So my question to Mr. Richardson, you were talking about the cost. Does that matter, or do we want to really defer this and give him some time? How much time are we talking about? 6 months?
Well, let me
he was talking
take
about
that
it.
in order, but let me ask first of all, thank you, Mr. Giles.
Thanks.
I think that concludes the questions for you, but I've got 2 other cars here, Belinda Jeffries and Shanine Sloan and James Duffy. Do you wish to speak on this item, this particular property, or a different property?
29th and Martin Luther King.
3724. Yes?
They're separate. They are separate.
Different
That's
properties, okay.
Right.
All right, so Director Wright, do you wish to speak on this item?
I know that you all are implementing this plan on 12th Street, and wouldn't it seem like you want to give enough time to get that off the ground and see what energy and where you can go with this? So I'm thinking longer than 6 months. That's not gonna. I mean, if he can go ahead and get something done in the interim, that's fine. But I'm just saying, it just doesn't seem like you would want to be taking down a structure that could benefit the corridor. And by saying 3 months,
We're putting it on.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Director Wright. All right, is there a motion to remove this from the condemnation ordinance? All right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Well, there was no time put on it, so. There's a motion and a second to bring this back. I'm going to take that as a motion to bring it back in 9 months for a report. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, 9 months, and work closely with our staff. That obviously means coming up with a plan and a financing plan and moving forward on it. Certainly any paint you put on the outside of it to give it a little bit more uniform look would be helpful to the neighborhood immediately. Thank you. Okay, I've got 3 other cards on this ordinance as amended now. Belinda Jeffries and Shanine Sloan, are you together on this item?
Yes, we are. We're 2901 MLK.
Come forward, please. If you'd identify yourselves.
Yes, I'm Shanine Sloan, and this is Belinda Jeffries. And we are in regards to property 2901 MLK. So to the mayor and to the board, we appreciate your consideration. We are asking for an extension of time for this particular property to be put on a list for consideration for condemnation. We are representatives of a trust who owns this property. The trust also owns a different property that is currently pending for sale. And so we anticipate having funds available that will help us to fix up the Martin Luther King property. Currently, we have it listed for sale, and it's been on the market since, I think, September of 2016, but we have not received any offers on it currently. And because of the lack of funds in this trust, we were asking for additional time. This particular matter is before the court in a probate and trust administration matter. So we have an order from the court in the 12th district asking us to sell as is. And so that's what we've been trying to do for the last year and a half. But due to some issues with some homeless individuals getting into the property, we did have to board up the property. So it is doubly boarded at this point and secure. And so what we're doing is just asking for additional time so that we can either sell the property, petition the court to auction the property, or if we're able to obtain enough funds, fix up that property at that time.
And thank you, Ms. Sloan. Director Hendricks, you're recognized, please.
Mayor, do we have any neighborhood people or anybody that's opposed to this? I see some new faces in the audience. I don't know whether they fill out a card or not.
I've got 2 other cards, one that wishes to speak against one of these items being condemned, Mr. Duffy, and then I have a card from Mr. Henry that wishes to speak for the condemnation. I'm not sure which one.
No one against 2901?
I accidentally checked the wrong box.
You're against? You're in favor of what?
Of the ordinance of condemnation.
That's what I have. You're in favor of it. Are you speaking about one of the properties specifically?
2901.
Okay, I'll recognize you in just a minute. Okay, are there any questions for Ms. Sloan or Ms. Jeffries? Okay, thank you. If you'll go ahead, Director Hendricks.
The only I have talked to Mrs. Jeffries, I want to use that first name. I talked to her at length today and suggested some of the things that this board may consider. So it's left up to you all. The building is in bad shape. The neighborhood residents, the organization is opposed to this house, so it's how you all vote. And I'm like you, I'm campaigning too. People vote for me out there, and I would have to support my constituents.
Ms. Jeffries?
I'm going to be honest about it. I ain't ashamed at all.
The building has not been, I had to board the building several times, but it's been broken into in 2014, and that's why that one side of the building is trying to crack up. In 2015, and we called the police about that, and then we've got it double boarded where nobody can get in. The building has been secured since December of 2016. Nobody has been able to enter or exit the building except for with a key, myself, since 2016. And we had not had the funds to fix up the structure that was breaking off the south side of the building. But now we are at a point where some funds have come in just March the 9th, where if we could be extended some time, we would like to improve the structure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Jeffries. Director Wright, you're recognized.
Thank you. Mayor, my question for staff is there any historic significance to this building? Because I know it's been there forever.
Since 1945.
So is it on the historic register? Is anybody?
It has not been it's not on the registry, but it has not been applied for that. I've never.
What was it originally built as?
A real estate company, a 6-complex building.
Grocery store? So built in Okay.
I don't
so,
know
Mr.
about
Moore,
the
have we had our staff research this?
We have. It's not on the registry. It's no historical significance.
Is there any historic significance to salvaging it?
It has on the front of it Murphy, and I was making an attempt in the National Registry of Historical Places, filling out application to find out if it had any significance.
Buildings older than 50 years can be considered eligible. It's not a guarantee that it would be.
But this is not 50 years.
Oh, yes, it's more than 50 years.
1945. I thought you said 45 years. Okay.
1945.
1945.
And the building is completely bricked all the way around. The only reason why that there may be a structure separating from the building is an aluminum structure that was extended on it to maybe because of the tornado or something, made it kind of separate from the building. But that's something that can be pulled down if that's something that I need to do. But previously I've only been told to just board up the building, and I have done that and double boarded, and it's still boarded as of yesterday. And I have a key to the front iron doors to get inside the building. It's very solid when you get inside of the building. There are hardwood floors upstairs, and nothing is leaking or sagging upstairs. It's a 2-story building.
So you don't plan to do anything with it? You just want to sell it?
We are trying to sell the building right now. We didn't have any money in the state before, after my parents died. My daddy owned this building since 1967, Andrew Jeffries Realty in Bell Bunding. And so I was trying to sell the building for the estate and get funds for someone to.
And you've had no interest?
We've had little interest. We've had some, and some people have walked through the building, and some people are interested in using it as a women's home or something. What they could do is, it's a 6-complex building, so it has apartments, 3 on the top and 3 on the bottom. And one of the apartments on the bottom was my dad's office. Another apartment on the bottom was a funeral home. It has not been unoccupied until September 1 of 2016.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Director Adcock, you're recognized, please.
Yes. Was this an apartment building or was it a commercial building?
It was a commercial building that my father bought many years ago, and on one side it was his office, and the other side he had There are two apartments downstairs beside his apartment, his office, and 3 apartments upstairs. And it has been used in several ways, like upstairs was used as a beauty shop one time. Downstairs was used as a funeral home, and it stayed that way until September of 2016. Not a funeral home, but an office for a funeral person. And then in the back was residential. Just a little extension of time so that since we have got some funds in to improve the building.
And you say you just got those funds in March 9th?
March 9th.
We actually, it's a pending sale, but it's with the title company, so we have to schedule another closing date. But those funds, once they're available, we can petition the court for authority to spend funds to repair the property.
Okay, well, I mean, we have, if you'll just have a seat, and I don't know if there'll be any follow-up questions, but we have one card that wishes to speak on this particular property, Mr. Henry. Is that right? Mr. Duffy, excuse me, wrong card.
Honorable Mayor Stoller, Vice Mayor Webb, board members, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Again, I'm James Duffy. I am the chairman of the trustee board and secretary of the deacon board of Greater Rosa Sharon Missionary Baptist Church at 2823 Dr. Martin Luther King Drive. We are just to the north of the building in question here, 2901 Dr. Martin Luther King Drive. I am speaking in favor of demolition of the building. On several occasions, women at our church after Bible study on Wednesday night in the past have encountered homeless people and have been approached by these persons, and they have kind of feared for their safety. Also, there have been children found playing on the steps leading to the porch. The steps are rotten, falling in, and also the porch. Also, children have been found playing on the stairway leading up to the second floor entrance, which these stairs are wooden and rotten and also falling in. A City of Little Rock Planning Development Summary Report dated July 26, 2016, under the location details states the following. The building has structural damage and is falling in, located on the south side of the building. Last year, this building caught fire, which further weakened the structure, which was already about to fall down. A warning notice from the City of Little Rock Department of Planning and Development dated September the 30th, 2016, referring to our August 2nd, 2016 inspection stated, our inspection found a dilapidated building that this department has determined to be unsafe, unsanitary, a fire hazard, and is detrimental to the public welfare of the citizens of Little Rock. We feel that this building needs to be demolished not only for the safety of the members of our church, but the safety of the children in our community. We feel that it is an attractive nuisance to the children in the neighborhood, and we feel that this building should be demolished.
Okay, are there any questions for Mr. Duffy? Okay, we've got one other card that wishes to speak on this ordinance. Mr. Bo Henry. Mr. Henry. Any Mr. Henry? Okay. All right, that concludes the discussion on the ordinance as amended. Board members, any further discussion? Director Hendricks.
I wanted to ask if staff has any comments about this building and whether it should stay or be repaired.
Well, Director Hendricks, let me answer that question. No,
I'll have to answer that. Tell me the condition. What do you think about the condition? Oh, thanks, Bruce.
Director Hendricks, as you're aware, any building can be fixed if you want to put enough money into it. And this particular building, the back of the building is a two-story addition that's separate kind of separate from the main building, and it definitely needs to be torn down right now because it's about to fail. And on the south side, you can see on this picture, the bricks above this door has failed. Some of the bricks have already fallen, as you can see to the right of that door. And as I said, the building, I feel it needs to be removed.
Thank you. I asked you because, again, I said earlier, the neighborhood association has called me several times. They want it demolished. And again, it's campaign time, and I'm supporting my constituents. I agree with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes the discussion items. We've had the 3 readings of the ordinance. All in favor of the passage of the ordinance as amended, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. The ordinance has been approved. Let the record reflect Director Richardson is voting present.
For the people in the audience, exactly what that means.
Yes.
What present means?
No. What it means that this ordinance has passed, that it would be.
That means that the 2 other structures that were subject to this ordinance have been officially condemned, and the city will go about to contract out to have those torn down. And a lien will be placed on the property for the cost of demolition. Pardon? Well, it was the one on Martin Luther King and the one on Asher Avenue. Asher Avenue and 28th Street, I believe. Pardon?
Is Martin Luther King to be demolished?
Yes, I
Yeah.
said the one on Martin Luther King and the one at 4200 Asher Avenue.
Yeah.
Those 2 have been officially condemned, and the city will go about to contract, issue a request for bid to demolish those 2 structures. The cost as allocated each one will be then placed, a lien will be placed on the property by the city to ultimately, hopefully, be collected.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much for your attention and time. All right. Let's see. We can now move on to,
Hey, Mayor, emergency clause.
the emergency clause on item 14. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. The emergency clause is also passed. Thank you. We can now move on to the public hearing items. Let me go ahead and open up the public hearing on resolution number 18 and ask for a reading of the resolution.
A resolution to approve the inclusion of code enforcement activities to amended sources and uses of funds provided in the 2017 CDBG Home and HUPA funds from the U.S. government and for other purposes.
There's a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. The resolution is passed. Is there a question, Director Wright? Oh, excuse me. Let me go ahead and close the public hearing. The resolution is passed. We have another public hearing. Let me open up that resolution, or that public hearing on item 20 and ask for a reading of that resolution.
That was deferred. No, I'm sorry.
20.
Mayor, this is the one we discussed this afternoon. If you want to read the various ordinances and then do the hearings one at a time after that, you could have the 3 readings.
Now let's just go ahead with the reading of resolution 20.
A resolution to rescind the Little Rock Planning Commission's action in approving a conditional use permit to allow a multi-sectional manufactured home on the R2 Single Family District Zone property located at 13324 Colonel Glen Road and for other purposes.
Okay, I've got I've got several cards. I've got 5 cards, all who wish to speak, I believe, against the conditional use permit. I'm not sure they signed the cards accurately, but that's one of those problems about what yes means no and no means yes. So let me call on Bobby Highfield, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Manager. Let me give you these pictures. Those are pictures of the piece of property that we're talking about. And the trailer that was there burned, and 2 people died in it. That's just one of the many things that happened to the trailer. But then this double wide trailer has been moved in. The lot has not been cleaned up in years. The garage that's there, you can see, looks just like it did like back in June or July when the house burned. And I'm also going to, well, I want to tell you, the trailer is not the problem. The people that live in it. I mean, the trailer is an eyesore. It's the only trailer in the neighborhood. Everything else is single-family houses. But that piece of property has had 54 911 calls to it. And my husband and I were on the volunteer fire department out there. We never had a piece of property that had even half that many calls to it. And you can see from this list the number of calls. And I've got these from the sheriff's office.
If you just give that to the clerk, we'll make proper note of it.
Because this deals with a manufactured home, and manufactured homes are protected properties under the Fair Housing Act. I want to let the board remember that this is a land use question. It's not a question about the calls. If you look at those calls and start breaking them down, many of them are emergency calls for ambulance help and otherwise. Many of the calls are for calls for assistance, for ambulance and otherwise, and that really doesn't determine whether or not a property is appropriate for this type of land use. And that is the only question that's before this board tonight.
Ms. Highfield, we can't
Yes.
talk about those
Okay.
issues. Just talk about the property
The
itself.
property itself is never kept up. It's an eyesore. The last trailer that was there, the doors were always open. The yard was not kept. There was trash everywhere, and it lowers our property value. All us people that have lived out there for years have homes, and this is a rental piece of property that he doesn't make them take care of it, and we have to look at it. We have to put up with all the crime around it, and I don't even know if this double-wide trailer should be where there's a septic tank that was put in for a single trailer. Because I know with the single trailer he had, there were a bunch of people living in it at one time. And so, you know, the health department may even need to check to see if a double-wide trailer, you know, I don't know how many people they can put in it. You can put as many as you want, but if the septic tank doesn't take care of it, then we're going to have the stench to go with the tacky piece of property. And,
okay.
Okay?
Thank you, Ms. Highfield.
Okay.
There are other people who wish to speak against this. Yes, go ahead, Director Wyrick.
Ms. Highfield, could I ask you a question, please, before you take your seat? I know you're almost there. Our staff continues to say that this mobile home is consistent with the rest of the neighborhood.
Absolutely not.
And they talk about there are mobile homes in the area.
You can't see one where we live.
Okay.
He has multiple, he's got a mobile home trailer park, but it's miles down the road. There's not any other mobile homes anybody's living in on that stretch of Colonel Glenn Road at all.
Okay, so what styles of homes are located along this street?
Oh, there's some really big ones, nice ones, you know, cost thousands of dollars. There's, my husband and I built our home in 1980. It's one of the smaller homes. It held 3 kids and us. My daughter lives in a home that was her grandmother's. It was built in the 30s that they've totally remodeled, or that's when they bought the property. Mr. Wallace that is here, he has a big, nice home, brand new home, that his house burned and he replaced it. And then we have 3 really big homes up on Colonel Glenn.
Is there a mobile home on this street?
Yeah, his.
Okay, thank you. There is a mobile home and it's his. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Barry Beck.
Mayor and Vice Mayor and Board, thank you for letting me speak. I live in one of those homes that's just adjacent to this lot, or this home, and all of the homes that surround this, I would say the vast majority of them have a value of about $300,000 and up. I happen to live in one of the larger homes there, and it has $1 million value. And I have to look at this piece of property. But the point of this is that there are no mobile homes anywhere along here. A single mobile home was there, which was pretty much shouldn't have been lived in because of the quality of it. Now it's a double wide. How you got permission to put a double wide where there was a single mobile home, I don't know, but it happened. But the point of this is this thing is within about 2,500 feet of the city limits. And within a period of about 12 more months, there's a group of people who are trying to annex that, and I'm part of that. We're going to annex that area into the city of Little Rock. And we're going to now have a mobile home inside the city of Little Rock. And I know the city's, current rules say no mobile homes within the city of Little Rock. At least that's what I was told. Is that true or not?
Not exactly. This is not a question of whether a manufactured home can go on this site. A single wide can go in now. The question is whether to make this a double wide. That's what triggered the conditional use permit review.
Okay. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than when this area gets developed, and I have 150 acres there, and when this gets developed and it begins to look like Woodlands Edge, which is the neighborhood next to us, this is going to be right in the center of it, and it's going to be part of the community.
But you understood what Mr. Carpenter said. It's currently zoned for a single wide.
It is.
All right,
yes,
just
I
so
guess
you
it is.
understood.
Well,
Okay.
if a single wide has to go in, then so be it. But certainly the septic doesn't qualify for a double wide. I know that. But if it has to go in as a single wide, I guess, or single, that's what it's going to have to be. But we've already had 3 arrests from someone living either under or around that house in the last 4 days. So be it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beck. And you know that this has to do with the land use issue and,
yes, sir,
yeah. Okay. Mr. Wallace.
My name is Wendell Wallace. I live at 13502. It's in a rock throw of this trailer we're discussing. And I hope that we won't start a pattern of putting double wides up and down Colonel Glenn because, this is part of the future city, and I think it's an eyesore, and we appreciate that y'all consider the people that live there. Our taxes is pretty high, and I don't think that we can continue to pay that kind of tax if we're going to put double wides down there. Thank y'all for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace.
Thank you.
Mr. Mann. Is Mr. Stephen Mann here? All right, Mr. Ron Muse. You wish to speak on item 20? You signed a card.
I don't need to now.
All right. Is the applicant here? If you come forward, please. And if you would identify yourself to the board?
I'm Sherry McVeigh.
If you pull that
pull it
microphone
down.
down, there we go.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm Sherry McVeigh, and of course, he does all the business part, but he's can't get up very well. This property has been there, I mean, with a mobile home on it for at least 30 years, and we've had it probably for about 15 years. And up until our last tenants that were in there, there were no problems with this mobile home being there. The lady, we had no idea when she moved in that she was an alcoholic. And I think that was most of the problems, but a lot of the amulet stuff this lady was talking about was she was sick and had to go to the hospital and stuff like that. But when we moved when the trailer burned and we moved the double wide in there, which is like a home, it's, you know, a 3-bedroom house. And once we get it cleaned up and get it fixed up, it's gonna look just as good as the rest of the houses in the neighborhood, except with the exception of the big homes. But we were told to hold off on doing anything until after the hearings, and that's what we've done. We have had some problems with some vagrants coming in, breaking in. So the house has got to be rewired because they've stole the wiring out of it. They stole the meter. We had to have it replaced. And as far as the septic tank, a septic tank is made to hold whatever, so it wouldn't have to be replaced.
Okay.
And we've never had complaints from any of these neighbors. No one has ever told us that they were having a problem with anybody that lived there. Okay?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes the comments on this. We'll move to a vote. Let me explain the vote. Director Wyrick.
This came up a couple of weeks ago when I asked for a report from the staff. One of the things in the write-up talks about that there has to be a report from the Crystal Volunteer Fire Department and a statement to be provided. And I was given a statement today that was provided by the chief of the Department of Crystal Fire Protection District, and I'd like to know what the staff has to say about that.
Mr. Collins.
And it's my understanding that this approval is subject to getting a statement from this volunteer fire department.
Yeah, that's the occupancy of it. So before, since that property, they picked up a manufactured home from another area that had some damage to it, fire damage to it, that they, in their response letter, what they said is they need to remediate that. The applicant does need to remediate that damage, and they need to inspect it before they occupy the building.
Okay. So when you went out to look at this, the site, you identified this as being a home that was characteristic of the other homes in the area. And as we've heard from the neighbors, they don't agree with that. Did you see other mobile homes that were in the area?
Yes, they're right adjacent to the city limits. Colonel, as you're going outside, going to this property, you will pass a mobile home, manufactured home, depends on the year, right on the left, on the west side as you're going out, within about 0.6 miles of this property. And so as you drive down the road, then you start passing smaller homes, and then there's larger homes up on the hill. So there is a mix of size of homes in the area. The mix is, there is two manufactured homes, and then there's smaller ranch-style homes built in the area, and then there's larger homes offset from the road in the area. So there is a mix. So what we was talking about is for the building or what was going to go in, that does comply with that mix of use.
Okay. All right. So, I guess where I'm coming from on this is this area, why we put these areas in the extraterritorial boundary is because we, as a city, would like to annex them at some point in time, and we want to annex quality development, quality situations to bring into the city. And from what I've seen of this, the information that I've heard about this area, this is not a quality development that we'd like to bring into the city. We don't even have purview over code enforcement or any of the situations that might make this a better piece of property than what it is. We do not have purview over the fire department, and they have said that this is not a structure that anyone could live in. So from where I'm sitting, I would not like for this to be, this resolution to be approved. And I'm confused now about the yes or the no. It's being.
Well, I'll explain that in just a second, but it looks like we have some other directors that wish to speak on the matter. So let me go ahead and ask them to speak first, and then we'll
Can you tell me
figure out the
yes
yeses
or
and
no
nos.
so I can finish my statement?
Pardon?
This is an appeal.
It is?
Okay. And it's an appeal from the Planning Commission, and they voted against it?
Yeah, yes means that you deny the ability to put in a double wide.
Okay. So, I will be voting yes, because I do not want this to be put into
A
the.
yes vote will deny the CUP.
Yes.
A no vote would allow the CUP.
Okay. My vote will be a yes.
Director Campuris, you're next, please. Director Campuris is next. Please, the chair has got this wonderful machine that tells me who gets to speak next. Director Campuris, you're recognized. Director Campuris, you're recognized, please. Director Campuris, please, you're recognized.
Tom, this is a land use issue, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
And it is by right, what's the right? Double wide, single wide, what?
The ability to have a manufactured home on the site that is a single width mobile home, single wide, stays with the property. It does not need a conditional use permit. The one that was there burned down and it can be replaced. This one was replaced with a larger double wide manufactured home, and that is what has triggered the need for a CUP.
Okay, so what we're talking about is whether they can replace a single wide with a double wide.
Right.
Secondly, do you agree with what BJ is saying, that right now we're asking to approve a structure that's not habitable?
You know, it's very dangerous to say you disagree with the board member when you're appointed, but the answer to your question is this: that question has been taken out of your hands. The federal government has said that manufactured homes are acceptable.
No. I mean, is from what BJ has said before, this house, in order to use the structure that's there right now, you would not give it a certificate of occupancy.
The fire chief has said that they won't.
Right. So basically, we're being asked to approve something that's not there, that's not by right, that's not habitable right now.
Right. Specifically, what's before you has not been approved by the fire department.
Director Fortson, you're next, please.
Mayor, I just like to say I agree with Director Wyrick's comments, and just add, I drove out and by the site after our discussion at the agenda meeting earlier this month, and to my non-professional eye, it does not it fit the standards of what we would approve for something adjacent to the city or about to come into the city. So I cannot support this.
Okay. Now, Director Hendricks, you're recognized.
Thank you. You're going to pay for that. The thing that I want to ask, what are we voting on? I hear all this personal stuff. I want to vote on what are we voting to recommend denial of the staff? That's what I'm going to be voting on. All this other campaign stuff, I can't deal with that. Okay? So I'm asking you, Mayor, am I to vote on what the staff has recommended? And not all this other stuff.
You're going to vote either yes or no on either to rescind the Planning Commission action or not to rescind the Planning Commission action.
And all this Pollyanna stuff, I'm not voting on that. And I think you all ought to know what I'm talking about. Okay? Thank you. I'm voting on what the staff has said. That is to deny the people who presently own the structure. Am I right, Tom?
Staff recommended that the CUP be granted.
What?
Yeah, the staff recommends the CUP. If you agree with the staff, you would vote no on the ordinance.
That's what I'm saying. We're voting up or down on staff. All this other stuff, I don't care nothing about. I got a letter too from the fire department and from whatever BJ was saying. Did you all get it? I'm sure you did.
All right, a yes vote will deny the CUP. A no vote will allow the CUP, which is what the Planning Commission recommended and what the staff recommended. So, all in favor of the resolution indicate by saying yes. 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 All opposed say no.
Roll call.
Well, there's
roll call. I'll find out how you vote.
A roll call's been requested.
You all want to vote it down. Do you want to vote yes? Roll call.
Director Adcock. Vice Mayor Webb.
Yes.
Director Hendricks.
No.
Director Richardson. Yes. Director Peck.
Yes.
Director Hines. Director Wright.
Yes.
Director Wyrick. Director Campiris. Director Fortson.
By a vote of 8 ayes to 1 no.
I heard 2 no's. 1 no? All right.
By a vote of 8 ayes to 1 no, the conditional use permit has been disallowed.
Is that what you want?
Thank you all very much.
So these people got to put up with that?
Okay, we can now move on to item 20.
Mayor, you need to close the.
Let me go ahead and close the public hearing on that. Thank you. Let me open up the public hearing on item 21 and ask for the first reading of the ordinance.
Mayor, as you get the first reading, I want to let the board know that there was a meeting yesterday with bond counsel and the underwriters, the convention center, and city staff that dealt with how the tax revenues are actually swept from the convention center to the bond trustee. The initial language in the ordinance indicated that that would be done as they came in, and that was probably because the way we get our sales taxes, it comes in once a month. In reality, for Advertising and Promotion Commission, they come in daily. So the language was changed. It was agreed upon by all of the parties and by the insurer, and the amended version you have in front of you has those changes in it. So you will be voting on the amendment, on the amended when you don't need to amend the ordinance, but I wanted to let you know there was that change from Friday.
Very well. Okay, first reading of the ordinance, please.
An ordinance to authorize the issuance of a maximum principal amount of $37,500,000 of hotel gross receipt tax bonds for the purpose of financing a portion of the cost of capital improvements in MacArthur Park, including the MacArthur Park Museum of Arkansas Military History and the Arkansas Arts Center, to pledge collections of a 2% hotel gross receipt tax to pay the principal of interest on the bonds, to declare an emergency and for other purposes.
Rules in place on second reading.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to authorize the issuance of a maximum principal amount of $37,500 of hotel gross receipt tax bonds for the purpose of financing a portion of the cost of capital improvements in MacArthur Park, including the MacArthur Park Museum of Arkansas Military History and the Arkansas Arts Center, to pledge collections of a 2% hotel gross receipt tax to pay the principal of an interest on the bonds, to declare an emergency, and for other purposes.
Move to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to authorize the issuance of a maximum principal amount of $37,500 of hotel gross receipt tax bonds for the purpose of financing a portion of the cost of capital improvements in MacArthur Park, including MacArthur Park Museum of Arkansas Military History and the Arkansas Arts Center, to pledge collections of a 2% hotel gross receipt tax to pay the principal of and interest on the bonds, to declare an emergency, and for other purposes.
Okay, we've had the three readings of the ordinance. Director Hendricks.
I think I have to wait because I want to change my vote, so my light's on a little early, okay?
All right, all in favor of the passage of ordinance number 21 indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The ordinance is passed. And on the emergency clause, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The emergency clause is also passed. Director Hendricks, let me call on you for a point of personal privilege.
Yes, I want the clerk to change my vote on the item 20 to yes. There was so much going on up here, but I'm strictly voting with staff always.
We've got a point of order. Mayor, you've got to close the hearing.
All right, let me close the public hearing on 21.
Now she can make the motion. I'm sorry. With unanimous consent of the board, Director Hendricks is able to change her vote to yes on the previous matter.
Does anyone have an objection? No objection. I just would note, Director Hendricks, that this is one time when you disagreed with staff.
No, I mean, I would have made that error, but no, I always agree with staff. And
No,
all the
no,
rest of
no, you didn't.
ought to, if you don't want to agree with staff, you ought to fire them.
Okay, we can move on. We can move on. Director Campuris, yes.
I move we take a 10-minute recess. It's 8 o'clock.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for a recess for how much? 15 minutes? 10 minutes? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. We're in recess for 10 minutes. The rest of these items, I think, will go very quickly, so it will be back in 10 minutes. Okay, we're back in session, and we now have several items dealing with municipal multi-purpose improvement districts that let me go ahead and open up the public hearing on ordinances 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26, and ask for the first reading of the ordinances, please.
Mayor, I think what you need to do is do your three readings and then as each one comes up, open the hearing for each one.
I'm going to ask for an individual one on each one.
Right. You won't open the public hearing until you get to that particular one because of the aspect of a levy against the property.
All right. Let's open up the public hearing on ordinance number 22 individually and ask for the first reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance to establish and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Multipurpose Improvement District Number 2018-326, Copper Run Project, and for other purposes.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to establish and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Multipurpose Improvement District Number 2018-326, Copper Run Project, and for other purposes.
Move to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to establish and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Multipurpose Improvement District Number 2018-326, Copper Run Project, and for other purposes.
All right, let me ask for the first reading on ordinance number 23.
An ordinance to establish and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Multipurpose Improvement District Number 2018-327, Copper Run Recreational District, and for other purposes.
Move to suspend the rules and place on second reading. Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to establish and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Multipurpose Improvement District Number 2018-327, Copper Run Recreational District, and for other purposes.
Move to suspend the rules and place on third and final.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to establish and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Multipurpose Improvement District Number 2018-327, Copper Run Recreational District, and for other purposes.
All right, let me ask for first reading of ordinance number 24.
An ordinance to establish and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Multipurpose Improvement District Number 2018-328, Piper Lane Project, and for other purposes.
Move to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Say nay. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to establish and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Multipurpose Improvement District Number 2018-328, Piper Lane Project, and for other purposes.
Okay, let me open up, let's have the first reading on ordinance number 25.
An ordinance to establish and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Multipurpose Improvement District Number 2018-329, Piper Lane Recreational District, and for other purposes.
Move to suspend the rules and place on second reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to establish and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Multipurpose Improvement District Number 2018-329, Piper Lane Recreational District, and for other purposes.
Move to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to establish and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Multipurpose Improvement District Number 2018-329, Piper Lane Recreational District, and for other purposes.
Let me go ahead and ask for the first reading on ordinance number 26.
An ordinance to establish and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Multipurpose Improvement District Number 2018-330, Denny Road Recreational District, and for other purposes.
Move to suspend the rules and place on second reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to establish and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Multipurpose Improvement District Number 2018-330, Denny Road Recreational District, and for other purposes.
Move to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to establish and lay off Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Multipurpose Improvement District Number 2018-330, Denny Road Recreational District, and for other purposes.
Okay, we've had the readings of the ordinance. Let me go ahead and open up a public hearing on all of these ordinances and ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak for or against any of these ordinances. Anyone that wishes to speak for or against any of these ordinances? Hearing none, let me go ahead and close the public hearing. Let me ask for a vote on ordinance number 22. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. The ordinance is approved. On ordinance number 3, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. The ordinance is approved. On ordinance number 24, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ordinance number 24 is approved. Ordinance number 25, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ordinance number 25 is approved. Ordinance number 26, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ordinance number 26 is approved. Okay, that,
Emergency clauses.
And would you turn the light on, off, on?
Yes, Director Hendricks.
You finish with this part before you go into the discussion that has to do. The reason why I'm fixing to make another change, Booth, and Secretary.
I'm sorry, Director.
Am I on?
Just let me ask one question. Apparently, the Mr. Carpenter, I believe there's some emergency clauses on some of these.
Is it?
Is that true?
Mayor, they didn't have them on there, so they're not listed, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Well, there's one on 25 has one, 26 has one. The body of the document has one.
Then I think you need to ask for vote on
Which
each
one?
of the emergency clauses for the districts.
Well, what about 22 and 23? Get the end.
You know what I'm beginning to do? You know what I'm beginning to do? I'm gonna go back to yes. Y'all do what y'all want. I'm gonna go back to no, where I was at first.
Okay, there is an emergency clause on each one of these, so let me go back.
It should have been, huh?
Let me go back over those, and then Director Hendricks, I'll recognize you for.
Okay.
On the emergency clause on ordinance number 22, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed say nay. The emergency clause is passed. On ordinance number 23, all in favor of the emergency clause indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. The emergency clause is passed. On ordinance number 24, all in favor of the emergency clause indicate by saying aye. Opposed say nay. The emergency clause is passed. On ordinance number 25, all in favor of the emergency clause indicate by saying aye. Opposed say nay. Emergency clause is also passed. And on ordinance number 26, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed say nay. The emergency clause has also passed. Okay, Director Hendricks, yes.
I'm following you almost. To the Secretary, I am going back to a no. And the reason why I changed it and went to a yes, let me tell you why. Your city manager came over here and bothered me, and I changed my vote. But I know what I'm doing. I vote for staff. You people were voting for the Planning Commission. You can have a lot of fun at it, but I'm voting for staff. He said that Jamie said he should have explained to the board what I asked of him. So I am voting with staff, and my vote is no.
Mr. Carpenter, if I understand that Director
Tom.
Hendricks wishes to change her vote again back to a no vote, which is to agree
There
with
is no
staff and the
objection.
Planning Commission, by the way,
If there
on
is,
what their recommendation was.
there is no objection, it can be done.
I didn't hear you, Tom. Come on up.
If there is no objection, that's permissible.
Okay, thank you.
Objection.
Thank you.
All right, so to recoup, that was,
I voted
that
with
was 3
staff.
yeses and 5 noes.
See, I don't believe
4
it's-
yeses.
All of them voted with it,
Oh,
I think.
excuse me, I'm looking at the wrong one.
Yeah,
I
everybody voted with
apologize,
it.
I was looking at the wrong ordinance. 8-1. All right, very well.
And my motto is, if we pay these people to do a job for us, and we don't want to listen to them, I can use a better word, get out of here. That's how I see it. I think it's terrible that the staff sit up and pay a person $150,000 or whatever they make a year, and we only getting 18, and we're not going to listen to them. That's poor management. I know ain't none of you got brave enough to say and talk like I talk, but I earned it. I'm old enough to say what I please. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. The next item is item 27. I have two cards that wish to speak on this. Let me call on Ron Muse.
Thank you again for allowing me to speak with you. I am for appealing the ruling. I am for appealing the as written. And I'll tell you why. Several people I've had conversations with, and they've convinced me, didn't take much to do so, that it's good government to not have a fundraising going on year-round. I just believe that's the way it should be. If fate should allow me to be on the board, then I would want that to be my guide.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Muse. The next card I have is from Jim Lynch.
Mayor, Vice Mayor Webb, members of the board, thank you. My name is Jim Lynch. I live at 16 Lennon Drive. I'll try to be as brief as possible. I've talked to you before about this issue. I strongly support the 97 ordinance. Myself, as well as members of the board and other members across Little Rock, worked very hard to institute this campaign finance reform. In my head, in my judgment, it simply comes down to this: what kind of city do we want? Every one of you all, as elected officials, I have a great regard for you all. You've worked hard to get elected. You're working very hard to perform your duties as elected officials, as the members of the board and mayor and so forth. But every one of you, I can say, without having even talked to you about it, is I think that you have this aspiration of leaving behind a legacy that you made the city better because of your elected service. Absolutely, every one of you have that aspiration. And that's the way it should be. And so whether you're 4 years, 8 years, or however many terms you might serve on this city board, you'd like to look back and say, the city's better because I was there. This ordinance elevates the city. We have a better city 21 years later than we did before we adopted this ordinance. It's just as simple as that. Our elections are cleaner. They're more straightforward. They inspire confidence and trust in the public that we've got straightforward political process and operations in our municipal government. Pay to play has been eliminated. That's what was going on. Campaign donations were being given to directors for all 48 months of a 4-year term. And so if there was something coming up on the agenda 2 or 3 weeks from now, we could make a convenient, timely campaign donation, irrespective of the fact, as happened in the fall of '95, that the campaign was 17 months away or 11 months away. $1,700 to one city director and $1,000 to another city director. That's the established history. I don't know that I brought this to the attention of the board in previous remarks, but the enabling law that allows Little Rock to have adopted this 5-month limitation was part of a larger statewide effort at campaign finance reform. It was called Act 1. It was adopted in the fall of 1996. It was approved by 487,000 Arkansas voters. It got 66% of the vote. Now, there was another guy on the ballot in the fall of '96. His name was Bill Clinton, and he was running for re-election. He didn't get 66% of the vote, but Act 1 did. This campaign finance reform that enabled this board to adopt our ordinance in February of '97 got 487,000 votes. People like getting these enormous amounts of money out of our political system, or at least minimizing them. I'll have to say that there's another facet that I want to call to your attention. It's been state law for 40, 50, 60 years, ever since the middle of the last century, in the 1950s at least, that you can't even file for city director until mid-August. So campaigns for city director and mayor officially don't begin until mid-August. And generally, people are on vacation in August, and so the campaign really starts on Labor Day. So we've really got a 2-month period, a little over a 2-month period, where we work like the devil to promote our candidacies, try to get votes, and be successful on Election Day. It's only appropriate that this predecessor board adopted the 5-month limitation on campaign and fundraising. It absolutely fits with the short and sweet campaigns. Another fact that I want to point out to you, Director Henry Hodges, who was the first city director to represent Ward 3 under our revised system, was the spearhead of the ethics ordinance, and that was adopted in December of 1995. On the same night that the ethics ordinance was adopted, Director Hodges also introduced a resolution to his colleagues on the board that night, because this issue of these campaign donations had already sort of been made public, and it was of great concern. And so he introduced a separate resolution, separate from the ethics ordinance, that said, I want this board to go on record asking the state legislature to allow us to put some limitations on campaign money at the municipal level. This board adopted that resolution in December of '95, the same night you adopted the ethics ordinance. Now, the legislature never did it on its own. Act 1 took over because some of us at the grassroots went out and collected tens of thousands of signatures to get it on the ballot. And that's the measure that got the, put it over the top. It all comes down to this. What kind of city do we want? We want a city that's respected. We want a city whose process can be admired by others. And that's what we have with this campaign ordinance. It's a candle in the darkness of our money-polluted system. Please support the ordinance in whatever way you can. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch. That concludes the cards that I have. We can now move on to citizen communication. I've got 3 cards. Let me call on Yolanda Bluford. Ms. Bluford. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, the board. I'm only standing here. It's about the administration of this city. Can you hear me? Okay. It's about the administration of this city. And the only reason I'm standing here is because God is not happy at all. Because you all don't only stand for a people, individual, you stand for the people. And there's so many things I've seen that is just not, it's not ethical. The welfare tax, $300,000. At one time it was illegal, now it's legal. For the school district, the millage was passed and shouldn't have been passed because the school district is failing our children. I looked at my property tax, it tripled. For what? They just closed schools. Now we're paying for schools. I'm not understanding this. Things are not like they should be. Things are going on behind closed doors because of certain people that have money and things of this nature. It's sad. God is not pleased at all because the city, people in this city put you all in the positions that you're in. And if it applies to you, it applies to you. If it don't, then so be it. But it does not make sense that the people are being taxed to death. It's sad. I made a purchase. I have 2 different taxes. Why? Why was the $300,000 made legal when it was illegal? Why was the millage made legal when it was illegal? The superintendent before Poor's tried it and they told him it was illegal. He go and do it and it's legal. Why? Why are the people being taxed and looked over as if they're nothing? The homeless people that are here, children that are here, 3% aid sales tax. And it says that you all wait 3 to 4 years before these babies can get a job. Why? Where is the money going for those 3 or 4 years prior? It's sad. It is very sad. And God is not pleased. He is very upset. It is time for a change. It is so sad. These babies are out here having no place to go, no place to work. Why? And let's not talk about the at-risk children that you all say are at risk. What are you all going to do for them? They're on the sideline. What kind of organizations are you going to put in place? So many funds are being cut. Why? The ones that you all need to help are not being helped. There's money going out to beautify the city. What about those that live here versus the ones that you're drawing here? It's sad. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Bluford.
Thank you.
Next card I have is from Stephen Mann. Mr. Mann, Stephen Mann. Okay, he must have left. Mr. Raymond Tucker. Hello, Mr. Tucker.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Vice Mayor and the rest of the board, I appreciate the time that you give me to speak here. I have several items on there, but one that I want to address right now is we're having a problem with our resource specialists doing our meetings. I am I am co-founder of the SENG Neighborhood Association, and the other one is Mrs. Lockhart, Teresa Lockhart. Now, we have a problem with our resource specialists injecting themselves into our meetings. People showing up that shouldn't be there, calling in, texting people in during our meetings against our regulations, talking down against our association. That's a no-no. So what I'm saying is that I'm requesting, or we are requesting, that he be removed. You can bring somebody else in or whatever, but we're requesting that he be removed. The next item is the fact that we have known for a while, we know that the city know, we know that the state know, and the county and everybody involved know that we are sitting on a pile of rotten, rusting gas pipe right in front of my house across the street and on the north side of Mrs. Lockhart's house where 31st went through. Twice in less than 2 years, they've come out and dug up that same pipe, put chemicals on it to knock the rust off of it, dissolve the rust. And we all remember when the pipe rusted out in the middle of the river, and we had that geyser down there for days. This should not only concern just we, the people that organize SENG, but also our director. You're living on top of that same rotten pipe. St. John's Church, Greater Center Star, and all the people, Church of Living God, everybody, we are sleeping on top of a nightmare. Most of you probably have never seen or witnessed what happens when gas starts leaking. Gas will silently kill up a whole neighborhood before anybody realizes what the problem is. And my question is, what are we going to do about it? It's dangerous. Contractors even refuse. Say other contractors won't even come out to do the work. But I've experienced that type of explosion. It's nothing nice. So, Mr. Mayor, what are we going to do about it?
Well, if you'll take these issues to our staff, certainly if you've made this issue known about the issue of the resource specialist, I'm sure Mr. Moore will follow up with you on it. Relative to the gas pipes, certainly if this is reported to the gas company, we'll have one of our inspectors go out and find out about that and get the gas company to do what their job is.
Okay. Well, they just covered the hole back up. Like I say, less than 2 years. This is the second trip they covered.
Well, if the gas company's
Friday.
not doing that, then we'll have one of our inspectors go out there and take a look at it and see what we can do to help facilitate getting it replaced.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes the cards that I have for this evening. Is there anything else? If not, a motion to adjourn? Motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed say nay. We're in adjournment. Thank you.